good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you are. Imagine it's a quiet Saturday morning. You've just poured yourself a fresh cup of coffee, the house is still, and you're looking forward to a peaceful start to the weekend. Maybe you just finished breakfast, or perhaps you're about to wash up from last night's dinner. You turn on the kitchen faucet, and instead of the familiar whoosh of water disappearing down the drain, you hear a sluggish gurgle. The water pools swirling slowly, a silent alarm bell that your kitchen sink has decided to stage a protest. It's more than just an inconvenience, isn't it? A clogged sink can throw off the rhythm of your whole home, making simple tasks like washing dishes feel like a chore. And the question isn't just how to fix it once, it's how to keep it from coming back, quietly disrupting your peace and potentially costing you a good deal of money down the line. That's the real frustration, the hidden cost of a slow drain. Now, I'll be honest with you, much of what folks are told about clearing clogs is either oversold, misleading, or a waste of hard-earned money. Those brightly colored bottles of chemical drain cleaner you see advertised, in my experience, they're often more trouble than they're worth. They can be harsh on your pipes, dangerous to handle, and sometimes they just push the problem further down the line, turning a simple clog into a much bigger headache. They promise a quick fix, but often deliver long-term damage or a temporary reprieve at best. The old ways, the careful ways, are often the best ways. Today, I'm going to walk you through a method that has stood the test of time, a simple approach to unclogging a kitchen sink using nothing more than everyday salt and vinegar. It's a gentle, effective way that respects your home's plumbing and your pocketbook. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to clear a stubborn clog, understand why it happened in the first place, and learn how to keep your drains flowing freely for years to come. It's about practical wisdom, not expensive gadgets or harsh chemicals. Before we dive in, if you appreciate a more detailed, written guide you can keep handy for all sorts of home maintenance, you'll find our full guide linked in the description below. It covers this method and many others in greater depth, ready for you to refer back to whenever you need it. So, let's start with understanding the enemy. What exactly causes these frustrating kitchen sink clogs? In my experience, the vast majority of kitchen sink blockages are a direct result of a combination of grease, food particles, and soap scum building up over time. Think about it. Every time you wash a greasy pan, even if you wipe out most of the grease, some residue goes down the drain. Over weeks and months, these tiny bits of grease cool and solidify along the inside walls of your drain pipes. They act like a sticky magnet, catching stray food crumbs, coffee grounds, and even bits of soap that would otherwise flow freely away. Modern living, with our reliance on dishwashers and garbage disposals, sometimes lulls us into a false sense of security. We might think the disposal grinds everything away, or the dishwasher's hot water washes everything clean. But even with these conveniences, tiny particles and fats still find their way into the drain. The P-trap, that U-shaped bend in your pipe directly under the sink, is particularly prone to collecting this gunk. It's designed to hold a small amount of water to prevent sewer gases from entering your home, but it also becomes a natural collection point for anything that doesn't quite make it through. Understanding this slow, steady accumulation is the first step to truly solving the problem, not just patching it up. This brings us to what I call the Japanese way, a philosophy of gentleness and prevention when it comes to home care. Instead of resorting to the chemical equivalent of a sledgehammer, this approach favors working with the natural properties of simple substances to dissolve and dislodge blockages. It's about respecting the intricate systems of your home, much like you would nurture a garden, rather than forcing a solution that might cause more harm than good in the long run. When I think of how careful folks used to do things, long before every problem had a specialized, expensive, and often harsh solution in a plastic bottle, this is the kind of wisdom that comes to mind. Why salt and vinegar? Well, it's a clever combination. Coarse salt, like kosher salt or rock salt, acts as a gentle abrasive. As it moves down the drain, it physically scrapes at the accumulated grime on the pipe walls. Think of it like a natural scouring agent. Then, when vinegar is added, especially white vinegar, its mild acidity goes to work on the grease and soap scum. Vinegar is known for its ability to cut through grease and dissolve mineral deposits. Together, they create a reaction that helps break down the clog and loosen it from the pipes. It's a powerful duo, but one that's kind to your plumbing and the environment. A true testament to time-tested, common-sense wisdom. Now, let's talk about gathering your tools. The beauty of this method is its simplicity and affordability. You won't need a special trip to the hardware store or any expensive gadgets. Everything you need you likely already have in your kitchen cupboard. First, you'll want some coarse salt. Kosher salt or rock salt works best because the larger crystals provide that gentle, abrasive action we just discussed. Table salt is too fine to be truly effective here. Second, you'll need a bottle of plain white vinegar. Any brand will do. Third, you'll need a way to heat water, like a kettle or a pot on the stove. And finally, a measuring cup will be helpful for accuracy. That's it. The approximate cost for these materials? Pennies, truly. Compare that to the typical cost of a commercial drain cleaner, which can run you several dollars, or a plumber's visit, which could easily be $100 or more. The savings are clear, and it's a good reminder that often the simplest solutions are the best. Our first step, and a crucial one, is the boiling water prep. This is about softening things up and giving our main ingredients a head start. Carefully bring about 2 to 4 cups of water to a rolling boil. Once it's hot, slowly and carefully pour the boiling water directly down the clogged drain. The key here is to pour slowly, allowing the hot water to work its way through the standing water and accumulated gunk. This isn't a race. The heat from the water will begin to melt and soften any grease that's contributing to the clog. It also helps to warm the pipes, making them more receptive to the next steps. Safety is paramount here, so take your time and avoid splashing. After pouring, let the hot water sit in the drain for about 5 to 10 minutes. This gives it time to do its work, softening the hardened grease and loosening any initial debris. Patience, as in many things around the home, is truly a virtue here. Next comes what I like to call the salt attack, the mechanical action part of our plan. After the boiling water has had a chance to sit, it's time to introduce the coarse salt. You'll want about half a cup to a full cup of coarse salt for this step. Carefully pour the salt directly into the drain opening. Don't sprinkle it. Aim to get as much as possible right down into the drain. The idea is for the coarse salt crystals to settle on top of and within the softened clog. As I mentioned earlier, these larger crystals act like tiny scrub brushes, providing a gentle abrasive action against the accumulated grease and food particles lining your pipes. They're not dissolving the clog entirely at this stage, but they're helping to break up its structure and make it more susceptible to the next step. Once the salt is in, let it sit for another 10 to 15 minutes. This gives the salt time to settle into the clog and start working on those stubborn layers of grime. You're setting the stage for the vinegar to do its best work. Now for step 3, the vinegar follow-up. This is where the magic really starts to happen. After the salt has had its time, carefully pour 1 cup of plain white vinegar down the drain, right on top of the salt. You'll likely hear a distinct fizzing or bubbling sound. Don't be alarmed. This is exactly what we want. While salt isn't a base in the traditional sense, the vinegar's acetic acid will react with any lingering baking soda, if you've used it previously or if it's part of the clog. And more importantly, it works to dissolve and break down the softened grease and soap scum that the hot water and salt have already started to tackle. The bubbling action helps to dislodge particles and create a gentle churning effect within the pipe, pushing the clog to break apart. As you can see, this method relies on simple, readily available items. If you're keen to explore more gentle, effective home solutions like this, our guide in the description covers a whole range of traditional approaches for a well-maintained home. Once the vinegar is in, this is the time for true patience. You'll want to let the salt and vinegar mixture sit and work its way through the clog for a good 30 minutes. For particularly stubborn clogs, I've seen folks let it sit for several hours, or even overnight. The longer it sits, the more time the vinegar has to break down the grease, and the salt has to loosen the debris. What I keep coming back to is that this isn't about speed. It's about thoroughness. Allowing the natural processes to unfold at their own pace is key to a lasting solution. Resist the urge to flush it too soon. Let the mixture do its quiet, diligent work. Finally, we come to step 4, the final flush, clearing the way for good. After the salt and vinegar mixture has had ample time to work, it's time to send it all on its way. Bring another 2 to 4 cups of water to a boil, just as you did in the first step. Slowly and carefully, pour this fresh batch of boiling water down the drain. As you pour, watch how the water drains. Does it go down quickly and smoothly, or is it still sluggish? If the water drains freely, congratulations. You've successfully cleared the clog the old-fashioned, gentle way. If it's still draining slowly, don't despair. It might mean the clog was larger or more stubborn than anticipated. In that case, you can repeat the entire salt, vinegar, and boiling water process. Sometimes a second application is all it takes to fully break down a really tough blockage. What matters is observing and responding, not giving up too soon. Now, when should you repeat this process or consider alternatives? If after 1 or 2 full cycles of the salt and vinegar method, your drain is still significantly clogged or completely blocked, it might be time to consider what else could be going on. This method is incredibly effective for the vast majority of kitchen sink clogs, which are typically grease and food-based. However, if you have a total blockage where no water is draining at all, or if multiple drains in your home are slow, like a bathroom sink or shower also backing up, that could indicate a larger issue further down your main sewer line, something beyond a simple kitchen sink clog. In those rare cases, it might be wise to consult with a trusted plumber. But I'll tell you, in my experience, for a single kitchen sink clog, this salt and vinegar approach works wonders and saves you from needing to call in a professional most of the time. The goal is always to empower you to handle these common household issues yourself, saving you money and giving you the satisfaction of a job well done. Beyond fixing a clog, the real wisdom lies in prevention. Keeping your drains clear long-term is far easier and more satisfying than repeatedly dealing with blockages. The most important habit to adopt is to scrape your plates thoroughly before washing them, or putting them in the dishwasher. Even small crumbs and food particles add up. Second, and this is a big one, never pour cooking grease down your drain. Let it cool and solidify in a container, then toss it in the trash. This single habit will prevent countless clogs. Third, consider using a simple drain screen over your kitchen sink opening. These inexpensive little screens catch stray food bits before they have a chance to go down the drain. Finally, make a habit of performing a regular maintenance flush. Once a week, pour a couple of cups of boiling water down your drain, just to keep things moving. Or, once a month, repeat the salt and vinegar method as a preventative measure. This careful, mindful approach is the hallmark of a well-maintained home, the way folks used to do things when resources were valued and waste was avoided. If you find value in these kinds of practical, no-nonsense tips for your home, I invite you to join our growing community here on Japanese Homestead. Subscribing ensures you won't miss out on our future videos, and it helps us continue sharing these time-tested insights. We always appreciate hearing from you in the comments, too. It's also worth dispelling some common myths and helping you avoid costly mistakes. As I mentioned earlier, chemical drain cleaners are a prime example. They often contain harsh lye or sulfuric acid, which can corrode older pipes, especially those made of PVC or cast iron. They're also incredibly dangerous to handle, posing risks to your skin, eyes, and lungs. And despite their promises, they frequently fail to clear tough clogs completely, leaving a residue that can contribute to future blockages. Another common misconception is that garbage disposals are an excuse to send anything down the drain. While useful, they aren't meant for everything. Things like coffee grounds, eggshells, and fibrous vegetables can still cause problems. Over-plunging a drain, especially aggressively, can sometimes push a clog further into the pipe or even damage seals, turning a simple issue into a leak. The value of knowing what not to do is just as important as knowing what to do, especially when it comes to the delicate systems of your home. Ultimately, what I keep coming back to is the wisdom of simplicity. This salt and vinegar method endures because it works, it's safe, and it's incredibly affordable. There's a quiet satisfaction in solving a common household problem with ingredients you already have, rather than relying on expensive, often ineffective, and potentially harmful commercial products. It connects back to the very spirit of the Japanese Homestead channel, a respect for resources, a preference for sustainable living, and a deep trust in time-tested methods over marketing hype. You don't need a fancy label or a slick advertisement to tell you what works. Sometimes, the best solutions are the ones passed down through generations. It's about empowering you to be self-sufficient and confident in maintaining your own home, knowing that you're making choices that are good for your house, your family, and your wallet. So, there you have it. We've walked through a gentle, effective method for clearing those stubborn kitchen sink clogs using just salt and vinegar. And perhaps more importantly, how to prevent them from returning. There's no big money in teaching folks the simple things that actually work, which is precisely why you can be the one who never overpaid for a solution that was sitting in your pantry all along. The real value isn't in what's marketed to you, but in the common sense and practical wisdom gained over decades of careful living. My gentle action plan for you. The next time your drain shows signs of slowing, try this salt and vinegar method. This week, make a habit of scraping plates thoroughly and never pouring grease down the drain. This month, consider adding a weekly boiling water flush to your routine. You'll save yourself hassle, worry, and a good deal of money. For a comprehensive resource that details this and many other household solutions, remember our full guide is available through the link in the description below. Have you tried a similar method, or do you have a family tip for keeping drains clear? Share your experiences in the comments below. I always learn from what folks have to say. Next time, we'll look at how to naturally refresh your kitchen with ingredients you already have on hand. If you found this helpful, consider subscribing to Japanese Homestead for more practical wisdom. Until then, may your drains run clear and your home be a place of quiet contentment.